We started with LeBron and coming home to Cleveland. The new sort of fancy rumor around D.C. at least is Kevin Durant, obviously his local ties from this area. And the likelihood of his potential return in a couple years and what the Pierce signing means to that, and Nene and his contract in a couple years. Dan, do you want to talk about your story from this morning, but also the odds? Let me just ask you the odds, what you think the odds are of Kevin Durant ever playing in a Washington Wizards uniform.
Ever or starting in 2016?
Either one.
To me, it's like 25%, 33%, something like that.
That's pretty good.
I mean, it's hard for me to really have a lot of faith in it just because we haven't seen free agents in the prime of their career come to the Washington Wizards like ever, basically, at least for decades and decades. But I think, he talks about this area constantly. He talks about his family constantly. He talks about Prince George's County constantly. He obviously is a really thoughtful, considerate guy who I'm sure his legacy is the same way with LeBron, is something that he thinks about. I mean, he is a folk hero in Oklahoma City, but not to the extent that he would be here, I don't think, if he wins a championship.
He's a legend here. He's like on Len Bias's level here.
He's like Elgin Baylor. He's the new Elgin Baylor of today, where people talked about Elgin back in the day. This is Kevin Durant in D.C.
I say it's a 50-50 chance.
50-50?
I say it's 50-50 for all the reasons that Dan mentioned. He's a bright young man. I've had an opportunity to get to know him through the years. He is thoughtful. He does understand what he's doing. He understands exactly what he's doing. His mother understands what they are doing as a family unit. I think not only does he realize that he can come here and be that figure that LeBron is to Ohio, but you got to also take into consideration it's even bigger than what LeBron is doing, because he will have now effectively been the one who made Washington, D.C. a team that can be a destination for major free agents to come to.
I think this is the big thing, and I agree with LeVar. 2 weeks ago, I wrote, "This is not a pipe dream, that Kevin Durant actually could wind up in Washington one day." And I said about what Dan was, about a 20% chance now. We just came off a free agent period that's not done yet, but in which Paul Pierce selected this team over several other teams. They weren't going to pay him that kind of money, but they still, the idea that Paul Pierce thought that he could get the most out of his career at this stage with this team, I think says a lot. It's going to be up to this team, really. And if they show that they're the new hot young team in the NBA that needs that one extra step to get to the top, Kevin Durant is going to say, you know what, New York looked great, the Nets look great, Jay-Z, my agent, would love to take me to Brooklyn and be on the corner with Russell Simmons and the gang. But you know what? Washington, D.C. is now a free agent destination, and I think that could definitely happen in the next 2 years.
So what percentage?
And I say 50-50.
You say 50-50
I say 50-50 as well.
This is, I don't know how much of this is done by Nike and how much by Durant, but 2 years in a row he's released his new KD shoe in the D.C. area. Last year he did it in Suitland. This year he did it at the museum downtown. I mean, obviously this area means something.
That's got to be his call, right?
He's a big Redskins fan. He's
just
a big Washington fan.
Oh, man. Maybe the third one will be released at the new Post
destination. You think we could do like a percentages every week on Post Sports Live going forward? The percentages of
no, let's just kneel and beg him to come.